I'll be there with Peter Michu before I walked in.
Oh,
And you can see the people staring at us.
oh, yes.
We're going live on YouTube.
Thank you.
Hey, I think you guys are all set.
Okay, so I will go ahead and call this meeting to order. Today is the regular meeting of the Scarborough Town Council Communications Committee. Today is Thursday, February 9th, 2023, and it is 3:05 p.m. Let the record show that Councillor McGee, Councillor Katerina, and myself are all present. Item number 3 is approval of the minutes from November 14th, 2002. This was tabled from our previous meeting. Jean Marie or Nick, have you had a chance to review that meeting to approve those minutes?
Yeah, move approval.
Okay. All those in favor? Excellent, thank you. Item 4 is approval of the January 19th, 2023 meeting minutes. So I have a motion.
So moved.
Second,
All those in favor? Excellent. I assume there wasn't any discussion. Okay. Item number 5 is to formalize our 2023 committee goals. Just to recap from our last meeting, we laid out 4 goals, and I would like to actually open the discussion to a 5th goal today, and then potentially have a formal motion to approve these as our committee goals so that I can let the full council know. So number 1, we agreed that we would continue to author Counselor Corner for the e-newsletter and then submissions for the Scarborough Leader. Number 2, we agreed to host quarterly Counselor Corner Live. Number 3, we agreed to create 1 video per month for social media and the website. And I actually also think that potentially that material could go to SCTV, because I know that last year we were looking for ways to populate that too. So that's kind of an easy add there. And then number 4, we agreed to plan/host 1 council-wide community outreach project this year. So those are the 4 that we had previously talked about. And I apologize, I should have thought of this previously, but it came up at council meeting last week. And I realize the work is gonna come to this committee, but I would like to propose that we add a 5th goal as it relates to a repeat of the community survey. And so I think that I talked to the town manager and he anticipates that being a budget request for the FY24 budget. And so I think for this committee to have that on our plates and to acknowledge that that's something that, it's going to be our job to discuss the finer details of that and then make recommendations to the full council. So I wanted to add that to our list. That works.
cool.
Okay. Any other discussion on any of that stuff? Okay, we have a motion to accept our goals.
So moved.
Second,
Okay, all those in favor? Love it. Okay, burning through my agenda. Item 6, Counselor Corner articles and topics for March. Any suggestions, either staff or council suggestions for what we have coming?
Well, what's going on?
so I'm submitting, it's on my calendar to submit today for GMO for February.
Yep.
Okay.
So after GMO though, maybe something more regarding the progress on the school front. I know we don't want to step on toes there, but we should have some information by mid-March, whether it's just updating the public as to what to mean or.
Let me update you guys on the latest, and I haven't heard confirmation yet, but I have sort of volunteered myself inadvertently, but that's fine, to be on the subcommittee
Okay.
for the school building with the school board. I haven't heard any more about it other than I said, look, guys, you need to get your act together and I'm happy to help. And so they said, great. I said, fine, that's good. So John Anderson was fine with that. I haven't actually talked to Tom totally. I see my role as being, I'm on the communications committee here. I can sit with them there. I do not represent the council. And I will make that very clear because council, we're gonna be voting or doing whatever on it. But certainly, to serve as a conduit for information and or ideas and thoughts, so. Stay tuned on that. That being said, if that happens, I thought I'd hear back by now as to when they're meeting. I'd be happy to write something for March.
Okay. So let's look,
What's it do?
so
I mean,
looking
is that-
ahead,
Is that kind of pending though? We have something. to
I
share?
know, that's,
well, so what else? So I wanna jump back for just a quick second. So for February, just to reiterate, Nick, you were gonna write something on the GMO, which it's the same as the night of our meeting for the workshop. And so Nick's would kind of be like a lead into what is gonna be presented to the council, what the key talking points are gonna be. And then, we said possibly depending on how the workshop goes, Nick could add a paragraph to make it a little more appropriate for the leader. And I would do a different submission,
Okay.
still on the same
After the
topic,
newsletter.
but after the newsletter. So those two won't be
Yeah.
identical. Just because it'll be after the fact.
Yeah, it'll be a week
The
later.
leader,
Yeah.
and so, and I'm happy to help you add paragraph or whatever based on how the workshop goes, so that we have a leader submission that makes sense.
Sure.
Okay, so, and then going back to March,
What are the burning topics do we have?
I know, other than the
so,
budget's coming out.
so we had talked about Counselor Corner Live, and we can kind of blend these two meeting items, but we had talked about doing Counselor Corner Live for the school in the spring. And so if we did that, do we want to try and tie an article about updates to the school as the kind of setting the table for the Counselor Corner Live? Or are we not there yet? with
I don't think we're
wanting to do
there
something
yet.
with
I mean,
Counselor
there's so many loose threads
Okay.
going on.
The other thought I had was budget. So priming
Yeah.
people to submit any ideas they have regarding the budget.
Yeah.
We just kind of give them an overview of what our process looks like in the timeline
Okay.
and engage the public and asking them to either participate or submit any thoughts or ideas they have for budget.
Yeah.
Or
That could be good for the March
And,
15th.
and I was gonna say, I think
Yeah, I took
traditionally we
March.
have given that March 15th spot to the finance chair, and so I can definitely tag John to do something for the 15th.
So does that mean school?
School would
push that
be-
to April?
No,
Yeah.
the school would be the first,
Okay.
unless we have something else that we think is more pressing to talk about for the first.
So March 1st, and that's where's it going? Is it going in the
E-news.
e-news?
And then what we have done is. if
And then
it's-
it
if it's
falls up, then I
relevant,
send it to the leader,
Yeah.
Send it to me and I submit it to the leader.
or
Yeah.
else to me,
Yeah, either way,
to you.
either way. Okay,
And the school one is more of an update on where it stands right now and how do you,
Hopefully we'll have.
okay, yeah.
Well, and-
Not as much.
But this
about
may,
account-
this,
I
may-
mean-
you know what I can do? Let me contact these guys and say, look, I'm willing to do X, Y, and Z on March. We've got an opening here, so
you can absolutely
Yeah.
use that to plug it as a liaison to the communications committee.
Yeah.
And use that space to write it from the counselor
Have
perspective.
Some updated enrollment, groups, it
Yeah.
might be a partial topic, you know.
I don't know, but I mean, we'll keep it open, or I could even write it with a school board member. I'll
Yeah.
ghost write it and then get them
That's
to
good.
give me
Yeah.
some input,
Joint call.
a
Yeah.
joint call, and maybe fine.
Okay,
I'll figure it out.
okay,
I got plenty of to do.
all right, and I will then touch base with John Lucci for the 15th. And let him know that he's it, he's it. Okay, so item 7, is the March Counselor Corner Live, GMO.
Yeah.
So I told John Anderson last night when he texted me that we had penciled that in for Thursday, March 2nd at 6 p.m.
Yes,
Yes,
that's what I have.
okay, Nick. And I will spearhead that, Jean Marie.
I'm sorry, I'm doing.
No worries.
Just trying to get contact. All right, I'm sorry, go.
For March Council Corner Live, are you fine if Nick and I are
I
the
hate doing those. but go ahead.
representative counselors?
Let me ask you this, April, maybe you want free hall pass. Would it be better if John Anderson did it?
I suspect yes, because while I am
If anyone's
happy
asking,
to
you're
engage,
right? You're taking-
right, I'm
That would be.
more
fine.
than happy, unlike Jean Marie, I really enjoy being there, but you know, I
You still can, I'm
suspect
just
that
saying,
John
yeah.
would like to be there and that it will be me sitting at the table with John scooching closer and closer to take the lead on that. And so I have absolutely no problem. I will confirm with John that that's what he'd like to do. If our hunches are wrong and he isn't available or doesn't want to, then I'm happy to be the second counselor.
I think it's also, I think it depends on what you want to present, right? Because John and I have been close to it, and
Yeah.
developing some of that work. But you as a counselor, want to see the results of that work, have a council discussion on the 15th. We get a read on the council from someone that hasn't been exposed to it.
Yeah.
Maybe some people would like to hear your perspective,
That's
things you learned or things you know, if John says no.
okay. I mean, I'll be there anyway. I'll be there either way. I suspect John will be there either way. There'll probably be other counselors who are planning to attend either way. And
Put a
so,
notice.
but it's more just who sits,
Who's
you
gonna
know,
run
who
it?
takes the lead on
Yeah.
this, on
Okay.
this, you know, on moderating, and John is certainly no stranger to doing that, so. I will discuss that with him and we can let that play out as it gets closer. And honestly, if we want to have the workshop first and see how that goes and see what the public response is to it, and then make the call as to whether it's going to be you and I or you and John, and we can do that offline, just as long as we're all, you know, on the same page about.
As long as we get two of us available, right?
Yep.
Great, I'll start promoting that next week.
Perfect. Thank you, Allison.
And has it been a public safety or,
Yeah.
okay,
Yeah, it's nice having that space.
Yep.
So it's more central for folks,
Yeah, it's a big open space. I like giving the community an excuse to use our public buildings too. It's nice to just draw people there for a reason. Okay. Item 8, I threw this on there because I was trying to think of if there had been any loose ends from the prior committee work that we had started that had never really gone anywhere, or anything that we just hadn't tied up. And one of the things that John and Ken and I had talked about in the fall was having Allison put something in the e-news one of these weeks about just getting a pulse on how our residents like to be communicated with when it comes to interacting with the council. And so this was part of a bigger discussion that had come out of Council Corner Live, where we felt like people were frustrated that they just didn't know what the expectations were, or, you know, when they email, do people expect to get an email from every counselor, or, you know, are people satisfied when they get one email? You know, or when people show up at a meeting and, you know, public comment is supposed to be, when is it supposed to be not about agenda items versus when is it strictly about agenda items? And so we were trying to think of a way to kind of educate, but also kind of see where people were in terms of their engagement. Is this ringing a bell?
I do recall us talking about sort of surveying, how they kind of get their information. I do wonder, though, as you're talking, I do wonder if that would be a good Counselor Corner article
Mhm.
on ways to engage, or
Yeah.
ways to
it's
communicate.
a good
with the council.
refresher. I think we've done it in the past, but it's always a good.
But, you know,
Reminder.
again, emailing
right,
or calling
Picking
technically,
up the phone.
public comment. Yeah, I think that,
time,
yeah, I think that reminding folks how to do that, and
or why, I mean, why there's a time limit and why. you know, why is it that some people got upset because they wanted letters read in?
Yeah,
The
oh, yeah, we
agenda.
just had that.
And it's like, that's the purview of the chair. The chair,
Yeah.
you know, can decide whether or not to read something in. It'll be included in the agenda, I mean, in the minutes, so the
Right.
public can read them. But just those sort of things, people
Yeah,
don't
that's what it
understand.
was we were
Right.
trying to figure out, like, as the, communication and engagement committee, how could we get that information across, and then I think that conversation kind of lent itself to well, when we put something in the e-news,
Yeah.
is that reaching people? Would they, or are they only seeing the article when it rolls around and it shows up in the leader? Or are they clicking on it directly from social media? Like, and we don't have great tracking on some of that stuff, right?
Well, I think it was more about like two-way engagement, like how do I think we have a sense of how they receive their information, but more about how do they know that all the avenues, how they can contact
Reach
the
out.
counselor, share their opinion, get feedback, that type of thing. And when you brought up about like an article or something, it could also be a good opportunity for one of the videos that we talked about.
Oh, yeah.
Like even you reminding about the 3-minute time limit, things
Right.
like that, that's just a good
We're not trying to stifle,
little educational piece.
or why we don't get into exchange.
Yeah,
know?
that would be a really interesting video, I think, that could be quick.
FOIA is another one,
Yeah.
that's a hot topic lately, more so the school board. Really.
If the point of the survey was kind of just to, as an educational tool to make people aware of the different ways, maybe there's a different way we could do that, like through marketing it. Either in articles or videos or social posts or something, but if it is like valuable information of like, you want to find out what the top ways are, that's different, like collecting data.
I mean, we could have a workshop on how to write letters to
Well,
the
we
council.
had talked
It doesn't
about
piss them
whether or
off
not,
up front.
we had talked about whether or not this was a topic that was engaging enough to draw a crowd for Counselor Corner Live. Because, it's kind of this general sentiment that we all get a sense from various facets of the community that they're not quite sure how to engage with us. And so, how do we work the channels that we have or educate people using the channels that we have, and are those effective? But then, ultimately, if somebody's not pretty fired up about something, they probably are not going to come to Counselor Corner Live unless they've had a negative experience with us. And if they've had a negative experience, then they probably know how to contact us.
Yeah, but are they effective? Are they effective in their contact?
Right.
Because there's a difference.
Yeah.
In communications I get from people, whether someone's effectively communicating or if they're putting up a wall right off the, so that as a human being, I'm going, what the hell?
Yeah, I mean, I think we actually have pretty good. I think we probably have some pretty good data from how people do engage with you, right?
Yes.
There are the emails, there are the public comments, there's
Phone
probably
calls.
personal phone calls. I mean, that is how it's happening.
Hannaford's.
But right, yeah, general public run-ins. So I do think it would be under all the guys of, we want engagement, we want to do that, here are the kind of established avenues of how to do that. I think that'd be a good. So I think we're to the point of surveying, how do you like to engage with your council? I think we know how to.
Yeah.
I don't-
And if the question is how effective is it or how satisfied is it? It's so like nuanced, like I don't know
Yeah, and
what
this
we'd
is
be
the
able to
con-
glean
this
from
is-
that.
This would be conversation.
this is the conversation we had, right? We're trying to pinpoint exactly what it is that we're trying to get at. And
Yeah.
so there's a sense of, well, I would like to get some feedback, are we communicating with our constituents in a way that they feel satisfied that they had our attention and that we were truly listening and whatever, but like, it's so nuanced how you ask those kind of questions.
Yeah.
But I could definitely take the lead on something like that for a Counselor Corner article, and we could just kind of have it, waiting in the wings for when we feel like it's appropriate to have
Okay.
something like that put out. And then you know, I could write the outline for it and then you and I could connect about making a video.
Okay,
I'll put
Yeah.
money where my mouth is and, do a video. So
okay,
I'm happy to take the lead on that part. Speaking of videos, I talked to John, and he's happy to do the, agenda sneak peek. Video, he was not surprisingly said, sure, I'm happy to do that. So I think he had a couple of questions for you, Allison, just in
Okay.
terms of, you know,
yeah.
logistic stuff. The best and easiest way to make
Yeah.
this so that it's not a big pile of work for you and
Okay,
it's just something that we can keep casual, I think.
No, it'd be too much to ask for him to, before every meeting, go around to like a new location. Yeah, do like a quick promo, like, hey, I'm at, whatever.
Oh,
park.
Jesus.
Your event, it's a great spot with 9 acres of trails and you're for that, you know, wouldn't that be a nice little?
I think it has to be relevant to the agenda item, he has to
Oh.
go to that.
Well, I
place,
mean, for
you
the
know.
facility,
You're on a snow
for the
kidding
facility
Yeah,
master plan, the
exactly.
Parks and Rec, master plan rather, he could have gone around to some of our lesser known parks.
Right.
That's a great
Park,
point.
I had to
Yeah.
literally look up.
The same, so it might be a topic for.
Harbor fees, go down to the pier.
Go down to the.
Oh, yeah, that's a good point, the setback,
30 pages, we should try to consolidate it to something. that your
and it's the
average consumer-
second hearing next week or March one,
March 1,
March
on
1.
for, I think, adoptions. End up with.
okay,
We should probably do something.
that is a
for
good council for
facilities.
topic.
Okay, who's the most logical person to?
Todd.
Well, so, but that's
No,
not,
seriously.
no, well, I agree with you, but that's more of an article for
Okay.
e-news, not necessarily coming from the council. And so I guess my question would be,
Yeah.
like, what is what is the council's role in?
What is council gonna do? We have this nice new shiny plan. What are our intentions? Is there a build out, is there budget estimates? Are we gonna take it down that path? Like, what?
We've gotta digest
We
it.
gotta
We
digest
gotta
it.
read it,
Right, but at
digest
some
it. It has to be
At some point,
brought
I
up to
think
the
that that's a,
public. Get
let's put it on the short
feedback.
list of,
Yeah.
you know, topics that we think should be covered
Yeah.
in an article.
And we're probably premature listening.
Yeah,
I think
That's all right.
I think it's a proposed path forward. And all this stuff. It's really- And to the greater question is, what is our plan for parks? Where are plans to develop these things? That's intended to be.
What's a reasonable time frame?
Well, and that goes hand in hand with the growth and the preservation of land, you know, in high growth areas. Potential. It's just one thing we're looking at as possible.
What about community center?
I was just thinking that.
Well, so what do you mean? What about the community center? And then I'll say mine.
I was gonna say at some point, I mean, there's gonna be another ad hoc committee. Right, to address some of that.
Yep.
At some point, we're gonna want communications to the public about what they're talking about, what they're considering. What kind of services and amenities it would offer, location. A lot of stuff there.
We're definitely
Yeah,
gonna
whether
be,
we have
yeah,
one.
we're definitely gonna have community center comms on our plate for sure.
And school.
In school. Well, and so thinking about our next counselor corner, so March, April, May, June, after the budget, but before everyone kind of really checks out for summer. I was wondering what you guys thought about, rather than doing the school. What if we did something about the what people would like to see for the existing properties? I feel like maybe that would be a more,
What existing properties?
the 3 buildings,
Oh,
Like-
you're talking about the
like
schools.
moving forward, yeah, so it is about the, so the greater. Community conversation is about the school, but more specifically, we could kind of drill down at Counselor Corner Live. This, because by June, we're gonna know whether this plan is launched.
Going.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So just something to think about. I thought maybe rather, at that point, we'll have to see what the school comms has, planned for community engagement. But on the council side, that would probably be more, it would more make sense if it was our role to talk about what people would like to see happen with those existing buildings.
And I think that makes sense as long as it's in the right piece of the timeline.
Mhm.
So you gotta get the school,
Yeah.
their activity first. Then open up that door.
Yeah.
Because that will help persuade.
Yeah.
Persuadable people in town potentially, if they know that, okay, so these buildings are no longer capable of being used as schools, even though we've put that out there since 2015,
Right.
but whatever. To repeat that, but then what will we do at school?
Right.
And how does that make fiscal sense for the community?
And I think it could also bring people along too, if they feel like they can be part of early conversations about what
Yeah.
is gonna
What's gonna
happen with those
happen.
buildings.
I wonder if there's somebody that studies old municipal buildings that could tell you what their actual potential uses could be. Because it's hard to envision, I think, personally. Like, we do a little bit of that, right? You know, you can turn them into
Housing.
senior housing or.
I know we have a living, breathing example of
Right.
what
do.
happened to our last
But I
elementary
feel like there
school.
should be more options than that.
Sure.
Like, you know what I mean? Like, I was like, somebody's gotta have done.
Well, you
something
got
creative with the
pre-K,
school at some point.
And what are the schools playing for pre-K? Because one of the thoughts was, oh, well, 8 corners or whatever could be pre-K. I don't. No, I
They're not suitable for K. Why are
they suitable for pre-K?
Do not get prematurely wound up. Okay, so again, I think it's really good to kind of just, for the three of us to brainstorm these conversations, and just talk about it big picture. And then when we're, building our timeline for what's coming next, we'll be like, oh, remember, we had that conversation about the school buildings, does that fit into this? And
Well, and the other big picture of is, 50 years from now, there's gonna be need for land. And we're in the boat we're in right now with the schools because Scarborough doesn't really own any land, the town. So no one thought ahead to say, maybe we should. I mean, we have the municipal campus here. But for whatever reason, there wasn't space put aside for the possibility of having to have consolidated elementary. It wasn't even on the picture.
Well, we should, our role as counselors, we should be looking 40 years down the road.
That's-
Is
yeah.
there a possibility we're gonna need stuff or something.
Exactly. That's where I'm going with that.
Yeah.
Because there are people who want us to sell, the building over
offset,
here. And sell these 3 schools and
Some of it might make sense to sell, but some of them might not. That's why I was wondering if there was somebody that does the study as to what you
Yeah,
can
I
convert them
know.
to. You know?
Yeah.
I had a next crazy thought idea, one a day.
Okay, I'm here for it.
Oh,
One of the most all everyone acknowledges. What if there was a topic regarding towards the end of the year, so after people got done using them, access to our summer recreational facilities, i.e. beaches, and going through like, do you have ideas of how we can improve it? Is it, expanding a parking lot? Is it a trolley service to, or shuttle service to an existing parking lot? Is it more cleanups of the beach during the year? Is it another set of bath facilities? Basically, just kind of take a poll on what we all love to use during the summer. After we're done using it, and say like, did you see anything that we could do better? Traffic flow
Does the community plant that
facilities.
facilities thing talk about that and all?
I haven't read.
I haven't read it
entire
either. I'm
thing. I
kind
mean,
of just. skimmed it.
300 pages, but
Right.
we'll get there.
Yeah.
It might be tucked in there, but I was just wondering for resident feedback
Yeah.
as to their experiences using kind of our summertime amenities. Like if they had feedback for either improvements or things they'd like to see changed or. I don't know.
Also, I know there was a portion of that in the community survey. That could be another area if there's enough interest. in
Oh, right.
Formal survey, the community on these things.
But I think that's, in terms of thinking about what Counselor Corner Live looks like for the fall, I think that's a great suggestion. We will have used our facilities all summer. Come and talk to us. What are the goods? What works, what doesn't? What would you like to see us do differently? And that actually gives us a long enough runway to talk about getting some stuff into the budget for the fall.
Oh, yeah,
for-
right.
Yeah.
That's, that's kind of different.
Yeah, I think the timing of all of that could be really good.
So you weren't that crazy.
Careful, there's no-
You tell him his idea wasn't that crazy, he's like, well, hold on. There's hours left here. All right, anything else on kind of this community engagement piece, planning out some of our future discussions? I mean, I think this is kind of as we go through the year, this is
Yeah.
gonna be, 5 or 6 minutes at every meeting,
Yeah.
just making sure that we're.
Because things will change, something will pop
Absolutely.
up that needs to be addressed.
But the ways to engage piece is a good reminder, like the kind of the repetition of letting people know
Yes.
ways to engage. It doesn't
Yes.
always need to be like a
Right.
big thing once a year, like
Right.
sprinkle that throughout.
Right.
Item 9 is public comment. We do not have any attendees in the room or online today, so I'm gonna assume there's no public comment. Item 10 is future agenda items. Anybody have anything they know they want to discuss at the next one?
To the budget calendar,
Okay.
I'll have that as a goal for having the final communications plan. in
Okay.
place.
Great.
What's the date of our next meeting?
March 9th.
And is there actually a physical like, budget calendar where we say like March 7th, X, Y, Z requests?
Mhm.
How do we get that information to the public? Is it just on our website somewhere?
I've kind of kept an internal communications plan as far as like what dates things need to go to the leader, be put in a newsletter, things like that, but. Outward facing is like the meeting, upcoming meetings, there's a dedicated budget page of the website that lists out upcoming dates.
The Finance committee yesterday, we published a kind of calendar for budget reviews and things like that.
Are you asking in terms of like how that calendar gets out to people? Yeah.
If you wanted to, because if you have a crazy idea that you want to see funded, there should be, you would want to know what that deadline to submit it to.
Hmm.
And how would this, does it go to council, does it go to finance chair, how do we ask people to submit budget recs?
I think that, well, I don't think there's any necessarily right answer. I certainly think that getting requests to the council and even that as a finance committee with, I would like to see us dedicate some funding to this initiative and they risk not on the minds of staff and not in the budget already. That's, finance committee has the ability to make adjustments, including, this is something that wasn't on your radar, but I want to see us grow. I mean, I think that's how the community services plan
Yeah.
came forward. I think that finance committee last year, I think someone said, we gotta figure out what we're doing here.
Yeah.
Let's
Yeah.
throw $100,000. And that was obviously a product of
Right,
the community saying, are we doing a community? center?
yes,
So, yeah, I don't think there's any right or wrong answer, but until the budget is finalized by the council in late May. I think the request will come forward.
Maybe that's one of those things that we want to share. Give them a dedicated email address to submit budget suggestions. But like, tell them,
No,
like,
it's
if,
true.
you want to try to funnel all that information to the one spot, like, here's how you reach out.
Maybe,
with the
maybe
budget.
that's a way to, maybe you could plug, Councilor Clucci was gonna be doing an article on budget, right?
Yeah.
So where you can pull some additional public engagement in the process. Stay tuned, or if you have suggestions or thoughts.
Yeah, specifically soliciting feedback from people.
And once we're into like April timeframe, we can really drive all communications back to the web page that has all of the information in one spot.
I do recall, listening to one, public forum, I think it was around the master, parks and facilities master plan, and then there's one resident who talked about, I think Pine Point not being cleaned as regularly as Old Orchard Beach. I think something like, I've brought this up 3 years in a row, every time I'm told it's not in the budget.
Mhm.
Well, why isn't it in the budget?
Yeah.
And so that'd be a good example of something that,
Yeah.
says, it'll cost us $2,000, so it's good.
I mean, the historical answer to your question is the budget portal. For a while, a lot of development went into the budget portal and making sure that there
Mm,
was a submission button on the portal and you could, drop your question or your suggestions in, and then they all got compiled and whatever and discussed at finance committee. And I think, just like everything else.
Oh, yeah.
You know, there was a lot of emphasis on making sure that everything was posted and that, you know, two-way communication was possible. And then I think the numbers on the number of people who clicked on the budget portal or accessed the budget portal just
Oh, yeah.
completely fell off.
And that's not unusual.
No.
Because people generally don't pay any attention to the interface with their municipal officials unless they've got an issue.
Right. And
And
I,
they
and
go
I
seek
think
it
it just,
out.
And then they
Yeah.
go, then it's important. But that doesn't mean, and we shouldn't beat ourselves up for not doing what we do, because we do more than most municipalities. You know, we make ourselves available, we've got, you know, the e-news, we have regular meetings, I mean, we do, if you.
Not
look
for a lot
on-
of effort.
It's not for
No,
lack of
no,
effort,
definitely not.
no. So it's like, at some point, you've got to say, okay, we're doing what we should be doing. These are the topics that we're doing. This is where the information is, and then repeat it. Rinse, wash, repeat 18 times,
Yeah,
you know,
cycle.
because it's a cycle
Yeah.
with people.
Yeah, I think we have, I think we should just maintain that level of standard basic.
Yes.
It's here, it's here, it's here.
Yes.
We can tell people
Yeah.
what we're facing. I wouldn't be afraid to try and move avenue, like, that submission,
Oh.
what you found after a couple months. Not doing anything.
Right.
Same thing with like these Facebook videos. Yeah, just the council watching each other speak on Facebook. video. I wouldn't have to continue it. You know? So.
But I think as long as we're putting information out
We're
there,
making
so
the
that,
effort though.
yeah, because then if it's like a couple months into it, and people are like, oh, I haven't heard of this before.
Right.
That's it. I think last year too, we talked about the budget roundtables and
Yeah.
stuff, so I don't know if that's something for next month.
we can definitely put that on the agenda for next month. And I will connect with the school board finance chair and see, if they, or the comms chair for that matter, and just see what if they are gonna use a similar communications plan as they have in the past. I assume they will, but shouldn't assume anything, so.
Exactly.
So I'll task myself with checking in to see where they are, but I agree with you, like, let's put that on the agenda. And check in with them, because we usually do partner with them for at least something. Budget related.
Yes.
Probably also see what the school board is with their communications side of it, and if there's anything like, you know, Jimmy offered to kind of be conduit, but do we need to have a discussion around joint communication efforts?
Yep.
Oh, we will.
I don't know if next one's too soon for that, but things will start coming into focus.
Well,
I think
when we talk about the budget calendar, getting the roundtables on the calendar, next month will definitely not be too soon.
My
That would be right in
concern
the
is,
thick of
I know that
planning.
is when I'm thinking about it, they're gonna get so distracted potentially by the budget. How are they gonna, I'll touch on it. Are they gonna keep these balls in the
Yeah,
air?
I mean, this is,
Well, hopefully you got paid consultants on one side of it, doing some of that work that needs to. be
Well, they did
Yeah.
talk to a consultant last night, I understand, so
So you might be okay there too.
Yeah.
hopefully. But anyway,
okay.
I'll do what I can.
Any other future agenda items that you know of?
Not necessarily for a future, I mean, not an upcoming one, but this morning we had a kickoff meeting for Sustainable Scarborough Day.
Oh,
Yeah.
right.
So there's a planning committee that's put together for that, and a tentative date of October 1st.
Oh, okay.
Put on the calendar. It's a Sunday to kind of coincide with farmers market happening.
Oh, cool.
Talk about it being at Wentworth maybe, and like using that parking lot area and having some guest speakers inside. Yeah, so I think that's something maybe we, as it gets closer, we can talk about how else we can get involved, and if there's a role that council can play in that
Do you
too.
know the date?
October 1st.
I'm sorry, I missed it.
Yeah, it's a Sunday.
Okay, cool.
Sounds great. Thank you for that update. Anything else, counselors or staff? Okay, then item 11 is adjournment. Do I have a motion?
So